Hi everyone, my name is Drew Etzel, developer advocate for Lenses. I'm here to talk to you today about our newest version of Lenses, Lenses 6.1. I'm going to be demoing to you migrating an application using three of the most exciting aspects of our new version. We're going to be using the Lenses MCP Server, the Lenses IDE interface, and then finally we're going to really be starring the replication process we have for replicating from one Kafka cluster to another that we call Lenses K2K. Lenses K2K is going to really be the star of the show, although we're going to show some of the other aspects as well. K2K has been a standalone product of Lenses for some time now, but we have fully integrated it now into the Lenses UI. If you're not familiar with K2K, it's our vendor agnostic, Kubernetes native replication for Kafka clusters. You've got lower compute cost, lower complexity. It's super easy to use, as you're going to see. Built-in metrics, Premier DevX. But in the interest of keeping going and not wasting too much time, let's jump in. I'm going to be migrating from old school MSK to the newest version of MSK with Express Brokers. We're going to show you just how easy this really is. Now, in the real world, without these tools that I'm going to be demoing here, this could be a multi-week, multi-month process. Maybe you never do it at all because it's just too much work and too much complexity. Let me show you how using Lenses 6.1, this very complex task can be done by just me. All right. Before we can actually migrate from one of our old MSK cluster to our new MSK cluster, we have to replicate the data between those two. And this is our Kafka to Kafka replication, fully integrated into the Lenses UI. I've already set up the replication. I'm not going to show you, it's very easy. I'll show you very briefly just how easy it is. It's just a matter of filling out a form here in the Lenses UI. Now, access to this, which clusters you can replicate from, which clusters you can replicate to, all of this is governed by the very powerful Lenses IAM model, but we don't have time to really dive too deeply into that here today. I have already set up this replication. We are replicating credit card data from like I said, from our old MSK to our new Express Broker MSK. So if I come in here, I can actually see information about my replication. I can see this YAML that is the configuration that governs this MSK to MSK replication with K2K. That's too many Ks. But this YAML, actually, we deployed K2K with Lenses to Kubernetes. You could also take this YAML and use GitOps to deploy it. So you have both options here. You can deploy with Lenses or you can deploy with GitOps. You can even view metrics. You can see how what the replication has looked like. You can see and make sure it's very healthy, all from within this single view here. So let's actually now move over and we're going to use the new Lenses IDE interface. This is going to allow us to actually view both our source cluster and our target cluster side by side. So over here on the left-hand side, I've got my source cluster. Over here on my right-hand side, I've got my target cluster. So this new IDE-like interface for Lenses is based on things like VS Code, all the different types of IDE, applications that developers like to use. We've decided to make Lenses look very similar to that and work in a similar fashion to make our developer experience even more developer-y. I guess that's the word. So as you can see here, I can browse my different Kafka clusters. I can come in and find a topic that I'm interested in and open it up in one of these tabs over here. I can even bookmark topics that I'm going to be interacting with often. But let's talk about this replication. So we are replicating from our source cluster here, our topic called credit card transactions. So over here on the left-hand side, I've got my source credit card transaction. Over here on the right-hand side, I have my destination credit card transaction. Now you'll notice my source doesn't have the headers. One of the things that K2K does is it adds these headers to your destination events. Now, the reason it does this is so that you can do what's called offset translation, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So one of the key things when you're migrating from an old cluster to a new cluster, you need to do what's called offset translation. Now, the reason for this is because the offsets on the source cluster are not going to be the same as the offsets on the destination cluster. It's just, if you're starting brand new with a brand new destination cluster, your old cluster's offsets could be, 3,500,000. Your destination offset is going to be 0. That's just how Kafka works. So one of the things K2K does to make this easier for you is in all of the target events, so these are the events on the destination cluster, it adds in these headers, and these headers have the original, the origin offset and the origin partition. So the way this works is this particular offset, 342,386 on partition 2. Now, on the destination cluster, the offset is 342,719. Two very different numbers. So what I'm going to be doing here with my Lenses UI is I'm actually going to be verifying. So what I've done, I've got this event open up here on my destination side. And then over here on my source side, I use the power of the SQL Studio, the SQL search that you can do on Lenses, on Kafka topics. And I've searched for the offset and partition that are referenced here in the header. And so now I can actually compare these two events. I can compare the transaction ID, I can compare the timestamp, I can compare all the other aspects and say, oh, all right, this is indeed, the mapping worked correctly. So now I have a very good idea on at least one of my events that the mapping is working correctly. Now, let me show you another thing that you can actually do. And that is we can use the Lenses MCP server and the power of an LLM. In my case, I'm going to be using Claude, the power of an LLM, to actually do a more random comparison automatically for us. So let me switch over to Claude. All right, so we have Claude hooked up to Lenses via the MCP server. So I can actually come in here. I'm going to just copy and paste this query. I'm not going to type it out, but I'm going to tell Claude, take 5 random events from our source cluster, and then find the corresponding events on our destination cluster and make sure that our offset translation is working correctly. So I'm going to send this off to Claude. He's going to take 5 random events, look at those, and then make the comparison. All this using the MCP server to actually interface directly with Lenses, and then using that to interface directly with Kafka. So let me just jump back over to our Lenses. Well, it'll take Claude a couple of minutes to actually do all of this. Let me come back over here and I can show you some of the other aspects of the IDE UI. So I can also bring up the schema for both of these topics. And then I can also bring up the consumers that both of these topics are using. So you'll notice we have a consumer group that's using this topic. and it is active. It's currently running and it has no lag. And then we have our destination consumer group that's currently inactive. So, we can actually make the migration over. Let's switch back and see what Claude is up to. All right, so Claude has done offset translation verification. He's pulled out 5 random events, made sure that the source target, the source offset matches the target header offset, make sure the data matches correctly. We've got perfect one-to-one offset matching. So I've been able to use Claude and my MCP here as a force magnifier. Doing this by hand with Lenses UI even would be a tedious process. Doing this with the Kafka CLI would be even more of a pain. So I could just come over here and I can have Claude run a quick verification for me. So now I am actually ready. My 3 consumers have no lag. So I'm ready to actually do the cutover between my source cluster and my destination cluster. So the very first thing I'm going to need to do is actually stop my source cluster consumers. So now I am stopped on both sides. This is the equivalent of downtime. So now I am stopped on both sides. I have these. You'll notice my lag is starting to build up here. So what I want to do now is I want to take the mapping. So you'll notice here, let me just move this over, the last offset for each one of these consumers on each one of these partitions. We will need to now find that event over here on the destination side using those headers. And then take that and do that and map so we can set our destination consumers to the right offset, start them back up where they're supposed to, and away we go. Now, again, this is something I could do manually. I could go in and I could craft a search within the Lenses UI and do this manually. But why do that when I can get my buddy Claude to actually do it for me automatically? So again, coming back over here to Claude, I am going to tell him to pull the last committed offsets from my source consumer, then look for those offsets in the destination header and make that mapping for me. So very quickly, let me just kick Claude off here and let him get to work on that. So the first thing he's going to do is pull in the consumer group offsets. Then he's going to find the corresponding header references on the destination side, and then he's going to then provide us with that table. Now, I do want to show you this is something I could come in and do manually. So I can come in here and I could come in and change these consumer groups manually. This is definitely something you can do by hand within the Lenses UI. And, for my little demo here with just 3 consumers and just 3 partitions, that's probably something that's not too daunting. But, in the real world, I could have 10 consumers and 15 partitions all on this topic. And so, that could be something that would be very, very difficult to just do by hand. So it's something that, that things like Claude or some specifically designed agent for this could actually make for us. So here, all right, Claude is, he's still searching around here. There we go. Give him a couple of minutes. This is what happens with non-deterministic interfaces. This is why it's better to probably program an agent for this specifically instead of just letting Claude interpret just in English instructions, but we're demonstrating the capabilities here. All right, now he's still working away here. Let's give him just a few more minutes. All right, here are our target translated offsets. So the source, current, end, what we need to actually what we need to actually program in to the destination consumer to get this going. So Claude has given us this information in a very simple and easy manner. We could then apply this directly to our consumers. So let me go ahead and come back over here. Now let's apply those automatically to our destination consumers. And you'll see they started back up on the correct offset. And they should start to slowly work down their consumer lag here. Now they're down to a consumer lag of 0. So at this point, you could start to run your tests. You could start to verify that the destination consumers are working correctly. And then, when you are satisfied with the destination consumers, you could actually migrate your producers over. And then now you have completely migrated to MSK Express Brokers off of your old school MSK. Now, this is something that I did in about, 15 minutes. In the real world, this might take many more people much longer without these tools, without the help of Claude, and without the help of Lenses 6.1. So I hope this was enlightening for you. I hope this helped you understand a little bit more the awesomeness of Lenses 6.1. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions.